Oh, wow. Okay. So I say okay.
You got it?
Yep. So fancy.
Okay, yeah, we're live. So first of all, how are you doing, Melanie?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a productive morning. All my errands got done while the kids are at school, so I have the rest of the afternoon to do absolutely nothing.
No work today or working later or what's the schedule?
No, no work today. Back tomorrow. And then off the weekend.
Okay, all right. Well, before we dive into a lot of stuff, let's cut right to the heart of the matter. There are two types of people in this world.
Yeah.
People that like running and people that don't like running. We're not going to call one good and one evil. We'll leave that up to the audience. But you and I are in the people who like running camp. Where did where did your friendship with running come from?
Oh man, probably since childhood. In Guyana, we didn't have TVs and stuff, so we were always outside. Um, it was always like Olympic type, who can be the best 100 meter, 400 meter. So it's like you're always competing with older kids, my brother's friends, running with the boys. That had a lot to do with it. Just wanting to. I was a massive tomboy, massive,
Mm-hmm.
massive tomboy. So it's always that, someone's telling you you can't do it. So of course you have, yeah, I can. So I fell in love with running there. And then in high school, ran the sprints, cross country.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where it started from, though.
Let's talk Guyana for a second.
Yeah.
Um, I well, correct my geography is wrong, but up in the South America, upper right-hand corner, kind of near Venezuela, you've got
Yep.
Suriname, Guyana, and French Guiana. Those
Yep.
three areas right there. I almost went to French Guiana, but I didn't because back when I was in the military, my team's area of operations was Central and South America, and we did jungle warfare training. And traditionally, my team did jungle warfare training in French Guiana. We'd go there
Oh,
every
okay.
year. And for whatever happened, the reason that it was when it was my year to go there, I don't know if there was beats me, but we didn't go to French Guiana. We wound up spending our time in Panama in Central America, but we have a history of kind of going to that area of the world, but not Guyana proper. So how long, you were born there, how long did you live there before you came to the US?
My mom, we came in 1986. So
Okay.
I'm 75 born. So we came here in August of 86. So I turned 11 here.
Okay. I'm
Um,
born in
but
75 also.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the reasons I'm still kind of attached to it, I was desperately homesick when we first came, terribly homesick. So my mom made a deal that if she can financially, the day school ended every summer, we would go back and spend our summers in Guyana.
Oh, no
Um,
kidding.
oh yeah, and I think looking back on it, it was also not that she didn't want us around, but she was a single parent. So us being home with family, friends, afforded her the ability to kind of work extra those summers. So I think looking back on it, I mean, I didn't know that at the time. Looking back on it, I think that's when she was doing a lot of like that, kind of like living home with elderly people, taking care of
Okay.
them. So she had like a night job, a day job. But like I said, I didn't know that at the time. So every summer from the time I was 11, probably till high school, I went back and my brother and I spent the entire summers there. So we were able to just stay in our routine, stay connected with friends and family. So we always have had this pull to go home.
Mm-hmm.
So we've never been removed from it. So it's probably why I still want to go back as much as I do.
I've got so many questions. So first of all, Guyana is English speaking, correct?
Yep, we're the only English speaking country in South America.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so is it just you and one older brother?
Just me and one older brother. Yeah, my mom passed almost 2 years ago. Um, he's about maybe an hour from me. So it's just the two of us.
But let's linger for a second and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe give your mom some props and some credit. I have to think that back in 1986, being a single mom of two kids, living in the northeast corner of South America, and then making the decision to uproot everybody and move to an entirely different country takes a level of like courage that's
Oh yeah.
almost unimaginable. Tell me, I mean, she obviously was a unique woman.
Oh yeah. I mean, she was a teacher in Guyana. And at that time, I guess for professional people, the government I was giving out visas to come and visit in America.
Oh, okay.
So she spoke to her parents because you have to have a reason to show that you're just going to America to visit. You're not like
But you're gonna
running
come
away.
back.
Correct. So she spoke to her dad, and I think he put money on like her, they call it a bank book, but basically her bank account to show that she had reasons to come back in addition to her two kids. Um, so,
Gotcha.
yeah, so she came here and she started working with that same family that kind of, I guess she ended up working for extra when we would go back to Guyana. So they kind of sponsored her, and
Okay.
she was able to get a green card, which is kind of like a little bit more permanent than a visa.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually left my brother and I with family for about a year and a half in Guyana and stayed here, worked, saved money, and then applied for us. So then she came back a year and a half for us. She surprised us. And then we had no idea what was happening, obviously. And then she told us basically that we're moving to America. And I couldn't even understand what that meant. Um, but that's basically how we came here. She just applied, she got accepted, we got our visas, I guess ultimately got green cards. And then we came here and it was hard.
I can
Um,
imagine.
oh yeah. I'm sure she kept a lot from us. But looking back on it, depending on family, and that same woman actually, her name was Betty, remember her? She had a boy and a girl, and basically all their winter clothes, summer stuff, my brother and I, we used that stuff until we kind of like got on our feet. And then we got our first apartment in Brooklyn. We stayed there, I don't even know how long, many years. And then my brother, once my brother started working, the two of them pooled their money and they bought a house in Queens, which my brother is still living there now.
Oh, no
Um,
kidding.
yeah, so I was a freshman in college when we moved from Brooklyn to Queens. And they've been in that house. Well, my brother now has been in that house since 91 or so.
Okay. So your mom immigrated to the country, had the resolve to, I'm sure it was miserable for her, to not be with her kids for about a year and a half,
Oh, yeah,
get settled, make it happen, like understood the long-term benefit of suffering for the quote unquote short term,
right.
got you guys back in there, and then talk about like the American dream success story, and then like made it happen to the point of home ownership
Oh,
and
yeah.
a daughter going to college.
There's something extra. She actually decided she wanted her college degree as well. So
Oh, no kidding.
her and I were in college at the same time. And my proudest moment to this day is that I taught my mom trigonometry, and I mean, when I tell you she aced it, I was so proud of her. I told her all the little tricks and we graduated college the same year.
That
She
is
was
so
she,
cool.
she was 40 years old and she graduated college. That was what she wanted. She's always wanted to be a college graduate, and we graduated together the same year.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I'm fascinated by this kind of stuff. So let's before we move anywhere else, let's stick with a couple things. Number one, for again, I've never been to Guyana, you've been there a bunch. Tell me about if you're trying to describe the country, the culture, the people, the whatever. What's it like?
It's hot all the time, which is fantastic. And I don't know a group of people who looks forward to having a good time more than Guyanese people. I'm telling you, if you want to have a good time, we're up for a good time. And I'm
Okay.
nothing fancy. It could just be a group of people, food, laughs, joking, music. it's just easy, very easygoing, very hardworking people, very, very loyal, very, very loyal people. I mean, I have friends that I can reach out to like for anything I want. Like we have our uncle there, my mom's brother, and his son, his only child passed a couple years ago. So my brother, we've been trying to alternate going back to Guyana to take care of him since our mom passed. It's just us. And we have friends that we can always call to just, stop in, check on him if we need, something to get to him sooner than later, take him to a doctor's appointment. And
Mm.
these are people we've grown up with, since we were kids. And even though we left, I think because we went back so much, we were able to like keep those friendships and those relationships intact. But it's definitely not easy having him there and we're here. But I'd say probably very, very loyal people, Guyanese people, very loyal, but up for a good time.
And um, you know, again, I've got so many things on my mind. Why? Well, let's stick with Ghana before I move on. I don't want to romanticize anything because I didn't grow up there or whatnot. I only know the way that I grew up. I'm sure there was parts of your childhood where you look at your kids who were born and raised in the US, and there are certain things I'm sure you see that they have here that you're like, this is wonderful. This
Oh,
is
for
what I wanted
sure.
here. This is super. Again, not to romanticize it, but when you tell me a bit about your childhood, like growing up with no television, having to play outside, having to be active, having to have relationships with a real person and not a screen in front of your
It
face.
was glorious. It
I
was
mean,
amazing. I mean, climbing. Part of our like we made I don't even know how to call like matchbox, like like boxes of matches.
yeah.
We used to like put um Q-tips and put like the beer, like the cap of a beer, and made those into wheels on the toothpick, like, and you have like a whole train of them, and that's just how that's what we did. Or like an old bicycle tire, we would be using like a stick and just like running down the road, hitting this bicycle wheel. That was our that was fun. So really simple stuff. Climbing trees. We did a lot of bird hunting, like with the whole slingshot.
Mm.
Uh, fishing with like legit branch from a tree, like a makeshift hook, digging for worms, actually, baiting your stuff for yourself, stuff like that. A lot of swimming, a lot of swimming. But that was our childhood. That was our childhood.
And just probably an appreciation for what you have, or if what you have breaks, you have to fix it.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
like
There was one toy on Christmas. There was one toy. It was either a new doll for me or some form of a G.I. Joe type thing for my brother. And when I tell you Christmas morning was glorious, but nothing to do with the gift. It was the food. There was food everywhere, everywhere. And visiting, friends and families' homes and stuff like that. That was our fun.
and now you get kids it's not the kid's fault. Like
No,
wherever you grew up, you're a product of your environment, and whatever seems appropriate based upon just what you're surrounded by. But you get kids these days that if they're outside, they're playing and they happen to get a small hole in their Nike sweatpants, like, well, gotta throw these out. You're like, gotta throw these out? What are you talking about?
nope. Somebody's gonna stitch that up right up for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those work perfectly fine. So what was it about Guyana that made your mom say, no, we got to get out of here?
I think it was just hard living. Again, she was a single parent, a teacher's salary, much like it is here. It's not anything to survive on. My dad was not around, so not basically, she was doing everything for herself. And I think once the government, I guess, looking back on it, had to have been the U.S. government would have had to open up those opportunities. Once they opened up the opportunities, she was like, she probably had friends doing it, and she probably just thought, why not? It was just an opportunity because the thing is, America was painted as it is everywhere, this land of opportunity. So I think she
Hmm.
just, the opportunity presented itself to her, and I think she just took it, hoping for the best, because there was no guarantee once you applied that you got approved for it. But I think definitely her dad putting funds in her account for them to see that, listen, she has money in the bank account, she has two kids, she has a reason to come back, because you basically, that's what you have to show,
Right.
um, that you
I
have a reason to
remember,
come
I
back.
remember that, you know, it was just specifically when I get back in the military, I spent a lot of time in Central and South America, and there'd be a lot of conversations with people who were potentially considering going to the US, and we would talk about what the process was and the requirements, and that was always
Yep.
brought up, you know, one of that deal.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because they don't want people to just, I mean, obviously you want people who are going to come to America and be productive. It's not always the case. But the fact that she was able to show that, you listen, I'm not coming here to just never go back to my country. I have
Hmm.
reasons, I have my kids, I have money in the bank. So I think that's why she got approved so easily.
Okay. So then, you know, you all come here and talk about again, you know, this success story we talked earlier when we first started chatting about, you know, you've got the day off from work and then you go back, you know, you came here and became, you know, quite a professional. So you must have, you know, post college went on to, I would
Oh,
assume, more education as well to become what, a thoracic surgery physician's
yeah,
assistant?
yeah. Yeah, I'm a book nerd. So uh, after graduating, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I was doing research. And then I remember actually when I was in high school, they had a program with a hospital pairing seniors with some type of professional in a hospital. And for whatever reason, I was paired with a physician assistant in the emergency room.
Okay.
And I didn't, at that point, I didn't know what a PA was. I've never heard of it. We only knew about doctors. Like that was the
Hmm.
only, and then I'm seeing what this guy's doing and I'm fascinated. So it was always in the back of my mind. So I remember talking to my mom and I'm like, "Ugh, research, it's just repetitive. It got boring." So and we talked about it. She's like, you always talked about, that PA. So I started doing some research, and I applied, I got into school, and one of my rotations actually, I got hired, and I fell in love with kind of like the surgical aspect of being a PA. And then open heart surgery is like, it's either open heart surgery or emergency room medicine for PAs. I don't know what it is. It's like the big bullet points. So I did kind of like a more intensive care unit type things, in Harlem. I don't know. Have you heard of Harlem in New
Yeah.
York?
Yeah.
Okay. So back in the 2000s, there were a lot of interesting happenings at that time. So I got a lot of trauma experience.
Kept you busy at
Um,
work.
oh yeah, a lot of gunshot wounds. I mean, great,
Right,
fun
right.
for someone learning,
For
not
experience,
necessarily
yeah.
not necessarily for the patients, unfortunately. But that also got mentally to see that over and over again. So I wanted something different. So I applied for this a position to become an open heart surgery PA, basically. So you're taking care of patients who've had open heart surgery and lung surgery. And they were looking for a PA. I got hired. They trained me. I worked there for almost 10 years. But the 24-hour shifts, the night shifts, at that point, I'd gotten married, had two little kids back to back, 16 months apart. And as you can imagine, working 24-hour shifts with a newborn and a 16-month, yeah.
I can't imagine how challenging that must have been.
Yeah,
Must have been exhausted for years.
beyond what happened that changed, that made me have to look for another job was I was driving home one day and I fell asleep.
I
Like
believe
not
it.
not kind of sort of fell asleep. Like literally fell asleep. And what woke me up was I was off the road and the car was doing that kind of like
Oh
bumpy
my
thing.
goodness. Yeah.
And I woke up. I mean, I obviously it startled me and I swerved back onto the highway. And it was one of those things where it was turning. So like there must have been a gap between the cars because I didn't look, I just swerved. And I got home, and at that time, I was married, and I'm in the driveway. I'm shaking. I'm crying. My ex-husband, he comes down. He's like, "What's the matter?" I tell him the story, and he's flipping out. "That's it. You're done." So, I mean, rightfully so. So that's what made me change that job into what I was doing prior. That was
Oh,
just day shift, 3 12-hour shifts. But yeah.
so what are the role for somebody who doesn't know, what are the roles and responsibilities of a thoracic surgery PA?
Thoracic surgery. So you're basically taking care of patients who are coming in for some type of lung surgery. But thoracic surgery also extends to anything to do with the chest. So it could
Okay.
be someone who has esophageal cancer, like they have a cancer of their esophagus and they need to be removed. So you're taking care of those patients also. Patients who have a hernia, like a hernia, like their stomach has herniated into their chest.
Okay.
A thoracic surgeon is the one who's going to repair that stomach, bring it back down into the abdominal cavity. So it's not just lung surgery. So you're basically, for now, before it was just kind of like done, everything was done laparoscopically, meaning like small incisions in the chest, but now it's all robotic.
Oh,
Everything's
no
robotic,
kidding.
everything's done robotically, which is crazy to look at. So as a PA, helping the surgeons, in the robot room, you're basically at the table with him. Obviously, the patient's asleep, and you're making these tiny incisions and putting in like the arms of the robot,
Okay.
putting it, you're putting them in the appropriate position. Then the robot comes in, this massive thing, and all the arms you're disconnecting and connecting it to the ports that you've just basically placed in the patient. You're there with the patient, and he's off basically controlling the arms of the robot. So you're watching him move. Everything's projected to a monitor, but you're there to, like, if he needs you to, pass him an instrument or take a specimen out. So you're doing that. And then basically, once the case is over, the robot gets undocked and you're basically closing the incisions with him. A lot of surgeons, once they are comfortable with you and the robot's undocked, everything comes out and they leave the room and you basically close all the incisions by yourself.
Gotcha.
Um, and then obviously you take the patient to the room and you're just helping them in the post-op period, whether it be pain control, giving them instructions on, what to do when they get home. So a lot of education about, the surgery that they just had.
And, obviously health and fitness is a big part of your life, and now you work as a career in medical field. The people that you see that cross your path, I'm not sure about your niche. Do the people cross your path because of an accident, trauma, genetics, poor lifestyle choices? Like what's been your experience?
I mean, for lungs, definitely smoking.
Mm.
I mean, I'd say probably 90%. I mean, although there
My
are
father
some
was
type,
a lifelong smoker, and that's eventually what got him.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, I think I remember you mentioned
yeah,
that.
yeah.
There are some lung cancers that are prevalent in non-smokers, but the majority of it is, probably, yeah, heavy smokers that for some reason, they've had this persistent cough. They finally go to a doctor, they get a chest x-ray, they see something, then they get a CAT scan, and there's definitely something there. And then they get referred to a surgeon,
Okay.
and, time to take it out.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So, all right. So now in the midst of all this of, you know, young girl moving from one country to another, growing up in the US, getting your degree, finding your passion for medicine, this whole 9 years, graduating college with your mom, um, having a couple kids, this entire time, are you staying fit?
I'd say for the most part, like, but not anything structured.
Okay.
Always, always would put on headphones, go for a run, but nothing, I got into rollerblading, but nothing, like I said, nothing structured. After my daughter, I just felt like a blob.
Mm,
And and that's probably when I was just miserable. And that's how I found the first CrossFit gym, because I'd never even heard of CrossFit before then.
okay.
That's how I found it.
So you dip your toe in that water, and was it love at first sight?
Oh yeah. The first day was deadlifting. We were deadlifting. And I was like, what is this? And there I remember I walked in and I think that the first day I think I maxed out at like 190. And I'm like, oh, this is
Solid
nice.
lift.
I'm like, this is nice. Yeah, I fell in love immediately. It was love at first sight for sure.
And you stayed there, you said, for a while until COVID hit and started closing things down. Was that the
Well,
change?
yeah, actually, that gym I ended up, I don't even know if I was there a year, but
Okay.
we were in the process of selling my home at the time, and then I moved. And after the whole driving incident, and I I found another job, I met a PA who at that time told me about his gym and how much it was such a great community. And then
Okay.
when I walked in, I met the owner, Jen, and I fell in love with her. And I joined immediately. I was supposed to go like see what it was about. I fell in love with her, and that was the end of that. And I stayed there for quite a bit, and I learned so much from her. Um, the gym, I mean, the members, amazing. And I was hooked before, but I became even more hooked
This was in New
after.
York?
This was in New York, yeah. This is all in
Okay.
New York,
Okay.
yeah.
And then you eventually then did COVID hit?
Yes, then COVID hit, and then I think Jen was probably in the process of probably thinking of moving on regardless. But
Gotcha.
COVID kind of like moved things along. And at that point, I was already divorced. My kids and we were in an apartment, and thank God I had like a back patio type thing. And that's, when Jen started selling her equipment, I knew I couldn't just stop working out. Like with
Hmm.
COVID, it was so bad mentally. I mean, I would have gone crazy if I didn't have something. So I
Amen
didn't
to
know,
that.
I didn't even, yeah, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I just knew I needed something. And members at the gym always did the Monster Mash.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's how I'm like, what is the Monster
This
Mash?
ridiculous thing.
Right. So then once I got some equipment, I can't program for myself. I had no idea. And I didn't even realize that CrossFit Linchpin was anything. I thought it was just Monster Mash. I didn't know what it was.
Right, right.
So once I knew I needed some guidance, that's how I found CrossFit Linchpin really. And then I signed up. And it has been 4 years.
4 years. That's wild. And you just kept building the home
I,
gym, building,
yep, I
building.
kept building, building from, and then I went on Amazon, got a squat rack in my little patio area. And because everything was shut down, we weren't traveling. I mean, my kids and we love to travel. So we couldn't go anywhere, couldn't eat out. So
Hmm.
any extra money, when I tell you, I was putting into like my home fund because I had already planned to buy a home. But it kind of COVID kind of fast tracked all that because there
Gotcha.
was everything I was going was just getting saved. And as crazy it was, I mean, probably wasn't a good idea at the time, but I just wanted, I don't know, something in me, like we got to get out of this apartment. And one of the girls at the gym also, she's a real estate agent. And, we got struck up a conversation and she said, she knew I wanted to eventually buy. And she said, I know you're probably not ready, but interest rates are ridiculously low.
Mm.
I don't know if you remember, there was a time when, I mean, it dipped really, really low. And I said, I don't know, like, are we going to be able to look at homes and like this COVID? Because they were only allowing one person in the house at a time. You had your mask on. There were these massive lines outside because people were leaving like Manhattan, like the more congested area, and they wanted to move further out onto Long Island where it's more spacious.
What a
So,
bizarre time.
oh yeah, I mean, people were buying homes cash. So something would hit the market and it would be gone. It would be bidding wars. I think people were putting their homes on the market just because of how
Right.
ridiculous. Yes,
Prices are through the
um,
roof.
correct. So actually, when we looked at a couple homes, didn't feel it, and then I came to this one with my kids, and I don't know what it was. I walked in, with, it was just me and my kids and the seller's agent, And they came and they saw the backyard and they said, Mom, can we go out back? I said, sure. She's showing me around, and it was one of those things where like it gets quiet and all I'm hearing is them laughing and running in the back. And I just knew that's
Hmm.
what it was. And I think the fact interest rates were so, it's like 2.5 we locked in at. I'm like,
Good for you. Hold on to that thing.
yes. And then come to find out, I told my agent, I said, this is the one. They had accepted an offer.
Oh, no kidding.
They had accepted an offer already. So the woman, the owner, she said, I have to come with my best and final offer. So we
Hmm.
did. And the reason I got the house was the seller was also a single mom.
That's
And
awesome.
and that's how we got the house. So yeah,
That's
it's been
awesome. And I'm sure your kids from having the back patio in an apartment and now having the backyard, especially during COVID, they were like, this is
oh yeah,
utopia.
it was amazing. And there's a swimming pool. Um, so yeah, it's been life changing. And then the garage, having a garage, I'm like, oh, this is gonna turn into something sweet eventually.
Which it has, maybe that you posted in the private Facebook group your evolution of the garage from, it was just a working garage beforehand, which most of us have,
Oh
normal
yeah,
walls, normal whatever, getting it done, but you've turned it into just
my
a
my happy
professional
place.
facility.
Oh yeah, my happy place. I cannot even. I mean, I loved it before, but it makes everything brighter going in there. Waking up early. It's been great.
And maybe a fun thing to end on is again, when you posted the evolution of your garage, you tore down some walls and found some special treasures. What was going on when you started to tear the drywall out?
Oh my God. So the guys came the morning and, we said, I'd met them before. So I came in, so get them some water or whatever. And I heard this crash. And I'm like, did somebody fall? I thought somebody fell. So I dropped it. I ran out and I saw the first panel and they're both like looking at each other, looking at me. And I'm like, what is that? And it was like the side paneling and it was beer cans, bottles. When I
Filled.
tell filled all the panels, all four panels. So I'm in contact with the former homeowner. So I took a picture and sent her. I'm like,
Were you aware of this?
come to find out, her ex-husband, because she had gotten married after she bought the house. She was an alcoholic,
Mm.
and he swore up and down that he had stopped and she suspected he was still drinking.
Oh
And
my goodness.
her response to me was, "Now I know where the empties went." And she it was hysterical. It was
Oh,
hysterical.
those photos were absolutely amazing. And you're dedicated to the point where um you've even got a hole cut in the ceiling of your garage and do rope climbs.
Well, I missed since COVID. I haven't rope climbed since COVID because I haven't gone back to a gym. So the storage over the garage, it's tall. I didn't realize that it was so tall. So when the contractor came, he's like, "What do you want to do with this? This space up ahead?" I'm like, "You can actually stand up there." I'm
Mm,
like,
oh wow.
"Really?" So I'm like, "Can I get a rope up there?" He's like, I don't see why not. So that's how I came up with the idea. I'm like, I don't need like a big thing. It's just me.
Hmm.
So that's how we came up with the idea of just framing it out. And then it's not 15 feet, but whatever. It's still I
So a
can still
rope
do
climb.
rope. I can still do rope climbing. So I'll just double up whatever the number is and in the programmed
Awesome.
workout just to make it work. But yeah, and my kids love it. So it's been
That's
great.
that's super awesome. All right, well, I'll tell you what I've eaten up enough of your time here. What would be, you know, and this isn't like a promote Linchpin thing, like just in general, maybe if this podcast crosses somebody's path, single mom, busy mom, trying to make it happen, I don't have time to work out, what's some useful advice you'd give to somebody in that situation?
I mean, not like as you said, not a linchpin promotion, but I think having a structure and having something to follow makes it easy to start somewhere.
Mm,
And what I personally love about linchpin is number one, the freedom to modify as needed. If I don't feel you don't always have to RX anything, but the choices that are there um, are amazing. No equipment, there's no excuse. You have an option there, and you have the freedom to mix and match. So I would say if you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut, it's a good place to start. No equipment. It's just easy. You get it done. You don't have to time anything.
right,
It's
sure.
it's a nice way to get your feet wet because there are plenty of times, and I love the not for time days.
Me too.
I
I do.
love the not for time days or the for quality days or whatever.
Right.
Um, but I mean, it's hard to get motivation when you've been out of it for so long.
Mm,
But I would just tell someone to just start with just even if it's just 10 minutes of burpees every minute on the minute, something like that.
absolutely.
Um, and then just I don't know, just keep going.
Yeah,
It's I
here.
mean easy for me to say I need it. I have to work out. I need it.
Right. No, you're right, but you don't need any gear or, like you like to do, like head out for a run.
Hmm.
No gear to start. And you got to stop and walk every now and then. Who cares? Stop and walk. And then if you keep doing it, you'll walk less and jog more and walk less and jog more. And like,
And then eventually becomes a habit. Yep.
yeah, control your diet and you'll be good. And if you don't have a lot of money and you don't have a lot of space, you just tuck a little pair of dumbbells in the corner of your apartment in Brooklyn and you can get really fit.
Oh yeah. And sometimes the dumbbell options are harder than the
100.
actual workout, like dumbbell thrusters.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting, but effective at the same time. But yeah, I say this all the time. You know, I might do my very best to make the strength and conditioning what it is, but um honestly, what makes Lynchpin cool is the people, and you're one of them. You're a big personality and reason as to why Lynchpin is the fun, supportive community. So truly appreciate you, Melanie. I really do.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, I mean, you always tell us how awesome we are, but you created this actually. Like it didn't come out of thin air. Like everyone's awesome because of the environment you and Emily have created. So we have you guys to thank for it. Like I've met some awesome people that I would never have been in contact with if it wasn't for Lynchpin. So
Isn't
it's
that
been
crazy?
amazing.
It's crazy. Again, I always think people think I'm probably lying when I say that you can actually make meaningful connections in an online community. Like, no way, you have to say that because you own Lynchpin. I'm like, no, like I wouldn't have thought it either, but like the people in that group are my friends. Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been in contact with so many people in so many different countries that I never would have been in contact with if it wasn't for Lynchpin. And it's been awesome.
100%. Well, again, much appreciated. Enjoy your rest day,
Yeah.
and
Thank you. You too.
I will see you online.
Okay. Thank you. Nice chatting.
Bye.
Bye.